Hello my fellow Tamrielites, welcome to the channel or welcome back. Today we are going to take a look at the home tour system, including dispelling some myths I still see in my guild chats and some tips. After that, we're going to take a quick look at some homes I currently have listed, and you can vote on which house you'd like to see a full video about. More on that later, but on that note, I have already posted a video for the home I'm currently filming in, the House of the Silent Magnifico. I'll put a card on the screen with a link if you'd like to see that one. I'll begin the home tour review with one of my frequent reminders that ESO has a solid tutorial system, and it's always a good idea to check that if you have questions. The default keybind for it is F1, but you can always access it through the header menu by clicking the question mark. Once in the tutorial menu, the home tour system is in the main list after housing. The home tour system itself is accessed through the group and activity finder menu. We'll start with the My Listings submenu. To list a home, note that first it has to be set to visitor or limited visitor access. Limited visitor means guests cannot interact with objects, so they can't turn lights on and off or open doors, for example. I have this house set as limited access because the lights are important to the story it's telling, and there are no doors that guests need to use. Next is the drop-down menu for tags. When listing a home, you can choose up to 3 tags. These are descriptions that you will later be able to use in the browsing section. My House of the Silent Magnifico is a gaming hall with sections that are in the colors of the first 8 tribute decks, so the tags that I used for it are colorful, games, and taverns. To select or unselect a tag, click it, then click the Update Tags button and confirm. You can rename your house from this menu as well. Finally, if your home is not listed and you want it to be, click the Submit Home button at the bottom. I keep hearing people say you have to be in your home or even in the housing editor to list your homes, but you can do it from this menu and you can access this menu from anywhere. I'll show that more later. Couple of other notes before we leave here though. You can see a display showing that the house has 427 furnishings in use, but this is a 400 slot house. That number includes all of the categories, not just traditional furnishings. Also note that in your housing editor, you now can see the number of recommendations on the house, which is also displayed back in the Home Tour tab, as well as whether the house is currently listed. Moving over to the Browsing tab, there are 3 filters at the top, and you can use these to sort by player name, descriptive tags on the house, and/or the specific house you want to look for. There is also this button on the right, which gives you access to those 3 filters plus one additional one, the category of the house. So if you want to look at, say, only the smaller homes, you can do that too. By the way, without any filtering, homes showing on this browse page are purely random and vary player to player and change regularly, so no one player gets the advantage of being at the top of the list universally. The same is true of the Recommended tab, by the way. The listings are in a different order for each player and also vary over time. I also believe, though this may not be true, that recommendations fall off after some period of time, which would mean no home could accumulate such a lead that newer homes wouldn't be able to compete. Though again, I'm not 100% sure that's true. To show you how to recommend a home, we have to be in someone else's house, so off we go to one of Calamon's. Shout out to him and thanks for letting me use your place. When we hover our mouse over the listing, you can see all of the tags for the home and the menu options at the bottom light up, one of which is Visit Home. We can add it to our favorites list without visiting, but to recommend it we have to be there, which is a good idea. Once there, in order to favorite, first you need to be in the housing editor. The default key is F5. By the way, this is also how you can learn how someone's built something if you're trying to figure out the pieces. You can also use the interface to browse the furnishings in their home. But we're here to recommend the home. That's T by default, and you can see it's also the same menu you need to add it to your favorites menu. You can recommend 10 homes a week and have up to 100 favorites. Once you favorite a home, it will show up on your favorites menu. I said earlier you can list your home from anywhere, so while I'm here I'll confirm that by changing the visitor access setting and listing one of my work in progress homes. And now here we are at the second half of the video, the mini tours of my listed homes. I'll give a brief look at each with a short description. If you want to see a full video showcasing a particular house and its story, put the name of that house in the comments. I'm not going to spend any effort policing the voting, so vote multiple times or for multiple houses if the mood strikes you. Again, however, I do intend to do videos on these homes, all of these homes, at some point. What you're voting on is which one happens next. The first house on the home list is the primary residence, so we're starting with my Grand Sigic Villa. It's primary because it's my house, not any of my characters. Since I'm crazy about Elder Scrolls, we open with a view of Uncle Sheo and an orrery. There's a crafting area on the left and a garden for the tribunal on the right because I love them even though they're crazy. Inside this house is the first large aquarium I ever built, and the large shrine area in the back is one of my favorite rooms in any of my homes in the game. It's also an homage to the main storyline in ESO. I have an update planned for this home as better options for structural pieces are now available, and that item count can be put to a more visual use. Next up we have my Earth Tear, which is the first huge house I ever bought with crowns, and it's still one of my favorites. It's home to 2 mages with very different temperaments, one an exiled Ashlander and bibliophile, a devout worshipper of certain Daedra, and the other is a genetically unstable clone of Devaith Fears, who is a tinkerer, crafter, and a mage of ambitious proportions. This home has one of my favorite treasure vaults in the back. This home also has my largest magical contraption and the one I'm most proud of. And yes, I was being deliberately a little coy when I shot it, but don't worry, even if this particular house isn't voted to be the next tour video, like I said before, it is on the list, just a matter of when. My Hunding's Palace, or Hunding Oasis, is something of a time capsule. I got this home with gold before Earth Tear back in 2016 or 2017, and much of what I wanted to do at the time I couldn't pull off with what I had. I'm not going to do a complete remodel though, because I want to honor the moment as it was, as it were. But I will eventually do some updates that will allow me to finish the build, essentially. It's an inn as well as a private residence, so half of the upstairs was always meant to be beds for rent, but I didn't have the item count, and I can free up those slots now because wine racks with bottles in them are a godsend. In terms of story elements, one of my favorite bits in this house is that it has both interior and exterior entrances, fake of course, to an imaginary thieves' den and caverns underneath. Inside, there's also a stage for dancing girls, which is an homage to Sauron in the Elder Scrolls III Morrowind solo game. Then there is Kielsen Rune. I guess it's pronounced? Tell me in the comments if you know how to say it. I originally wasn't going to decorate it. It's a really nice little home, but that mushroom growth used in the Telvanni Towers just looks too much like flesh Atronach flesh to me. I start wondering if disobedient slaves were fed to the mushrooms, a la Hannibal. And do not get me started on spores. Sweet Kinnereth, how can anyone stand to breathe in those places? Anyway, then Gold Road dropped, and I asked myself if it was possible to cover up all of the mushroomy bits inside with huge crystals, so it looked like maybe Mirrormore was merging with the house? The answer, my friends, is yes. But, to paraphrase the luminous Jeff Goldblum in the original Jurassic Park, just because one can do a thing does not mean one should do that thing. In other words, I love it, but it is very bright in there. Our last candidate to be our next house tour video is Pantherfang Chapel. I've mentioned several times that I have a character who is a hardline imperialist. After doing several major quests, Zealous became, yes, her name is Zealous, let's say disillusioned with the current options for political leaders. Therefore, welcome to the Citadel of the Banked Flame, a bastion for imperial loyalists. Outside, a thriving marketplace hosts a shrine to Zenithar and a sacred garden for the god of time, as well as an honor memorial for the fallen dragon guard and the entrance to the chapel. Inside, the shrine in the Great Hall stays full of embers but unlit in honor of the sleeping dragonfires and in wait for the next true emperor. In the vault upstairs, a second shrine stays eternally lit in honor of the flames under the city that never go out. Those are all the homes currently on the list for candidates to be the next house tour I do. While I wrap up, I'll show you a current work in progress. Thanks for watching today, and thank you for your patience. I was out of power for most of a week in August because of a storm and had technical difficulties afterwards. I was planning on having the next Athelia lore video up a week ago, but since I still have at least another week left on that, I wanted to get something up for you. And since I'm still seeing some misconceptions about house tours in guild chats, and I'm interested to see which house you'd like me to focus on, it seemed like a good combo. Let me know what you think, and I'm going to go back to work on that Athelia lore video now. Thanks for watching, and until next time, may all your loots be leet.